Welcome back to Boilers and Beyond. I'm Jordan Jones. We've been counting down to kickoff for seemingly months now. The time has finally arrived. We are previewing the season opener here on the show today as we look at Penn State and how the Nittany Lions match up ahead of the game on Thursday. We'll have a deep view into Penn State on both sides of the ball, some overall thoughts on the game, keys to victory for Purdue, and finally, our prediction. It's go time, everyone. It's time for worlds to collide, so let's get ready to go. If you don't already, follow the show on Twitter at Boilers Beyond. We will be there talking football all season as we got started last weekend even with some week 0 thoughts about everyone up in Lincoln. And if you don't already, also subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're not going anywhere, so be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss an episode throughout what should be an exciting season of Boilermaker football. It's Purdue versus Penn State, Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox, under the lights in Ross-Ade Stadium. I was down on Northwestern Avenue today and saw they were getting the Fox pregame show stuff set up. The Fox people are already in town. I can't remember a season opener as anticipated as this one. Penn State comes in as 3.5-point favorites. That over-under total is sitting at 54.5 right now. It's Monday night as I record this, so if money comes in either way, that happened after we recorded. So as anticipated as you can finally get. And looking at some of the storylines, the question is, can Purdue roll momentum over into a new season? That bowl game win was massive in terms of what Purdue looked like in that day, winning without David Bell, George Karlaftis, Milton Wright, Branson Dean was out that game, Dedrick Mackey was out that game. They were out 5 starters, and Purdue still won. Now, historically, bowl games are a terrible indicator of what's to come in the next season. That's normally not a good approach to look at the future. But for Purdue, they had some serious momentum to close last season, won 5 of their last 6 games. 3 of those came in an underdog role against Nebraska, Michigan State, and Tennessee. You have Aiden O'Connell back, and that alone should make you feel decent about what Purdue has this season. On the other sideline, Penn State's looking to bounce back after a pair of seasons that certainly did not meet the expectations that they have up in Happy Valley. Penn State went 4-5 in the 2020 season that was all sorts of weird, and they went 7-6 last season. They had some really bad injury luck. That it's never seen as an excuse up in State College, but it's legit. Sorry, we've got my dog barking in the background here, but it's legit. I mean, some of that stuff is very, very real, and at some point, you have to acknowledge it. But 11-11 over the past 2 years, not where Penn State wants to be. However, James Franklin did get his contract extension. I don't think the fans were all that thrilled about it, but what's done is done. And you have a pair of 6th-year quarterbacks coming into this game that really embody the stability of what both these offenses are going to look at coming in. Up until 2020, we didn't know what a 6th-year quarterback was. It wasn't a thing, but now it's a commonality. For both these programs, that's a really good thing. They both have very highly touted true freshman quarterbacks. Drew Allar up for Penn State, Brady Allen at Purdue, but neither of them have to be thrown to the fire immediately because of what they have on their rosters now. It's the 4th season as the QB1 for the season opener for Sean Clifford. Meanwhile, Aiden O'Connell has made at least 3 starts in 3 consecutive seasons going back to 2019. Really good quarterback matchup. A lot of experience. Two very different quarterbacks stylistically, but a very good quarterback matchup. Both teams should feel good about the quarterback they're sending out there for the first snaps on Thursday. A little bit about Penn State, talking about the injuries last season, it really was, in my opinion, a bit of a tale of two seasons because up until Sean Clifford got hurt, at that time of his injury, Penn State was ranked inside the top 5. It was late in the first half at Iowa, who was also in the top 5. Penn State had the lead and absolutely looked like the better team at that point in the game. Now, once Clifford was knocked out, Penn State didn't stand a chance. Taquan Roberson was not a Big Ten level quarterback. He got thrown into the fire, and it didn't go well. It's worth noting as well, one of their best, if not their best defender, P.J. Mustipher, the nose tackle, he got knocked out of that game as well. Tore his ACL, missed the rest of the season. So that loss really hurt because anything can happen in college football, but had Clifford not gotten hurt, I really think Penn State wins that game. They follow that up with a 9-overtime loss to Illinois. They lose some close games to Michigan and Michigan State. And really, they played Ohio State fairly well. I think they only lost by 2 possessions, maybe. That's about as well as anyone played them. So you wonder what Penn State team you'll see this year because they've had multiple double-digit wins under James Franklin. They've also had some duds. They've had back-to-back seasons that certainly did not qualify as meeting expectations there. On the offense, they're led by Sean Clifford, and in my opinion, he's better than folks give him credit for. He's not going to be some complete gunslinger who is throwing the ball all over the yard. He's not a crazy athlete, doing Lamar Jackson type of stuff, but he can scramble. He can make RPO reads. I mean, they can do a lot with him. He's competent running the football. Last year, he had a 20-6 touchdown interception ratio, 61-22 for his career there. That's pretty good. Rough 2020 season. You'll remember there was some drama there between him and Will Levis in 2020. Levis obviously left for Kentucky, but you look at his statistics, he's one of the best quarterbacks in that program's history. Now, it's not some star-studded lineage of quarterbacks at Penn State, but it's a proud enough program that's pretty impressive. He has a really nice trio of receivers to throw the ball to. They lose Jahan Dotson from last year. He was as all everything as it gets. He was an absolute stud. But Parker Washington was that number 2 guy last year. 820 yards on 64 receptions. He's only played 2 seasons, and he's already over 1,200 yards for his career. He's going to be a major weapon for them out of the slot. They get back Keandre Lambert-Smith. He kind of was that number 3 starting receiver last year, and he'll probably stay in that role on the outside. 521 yards last year. He's a nice piece, but the guy who could really be a potential game changer, and don't get me wrong, Washington can be that for them. Washington is a game changer, but Mitchell Tinsley, a wide receiver coming in from Western Kentucky, look, that's an offense that's a bit of a, cheat code when it comes to putting up stats. They threw the ball like crazy. Bailey Zappi broke a ton of records as their quarterback last year, but he's caught a ton of passes. He has a ton of experience. I think he was All-Conference USA last season. He comes in, and if that transition goes smoothly to the Big Ten, which it's always worth wondering, wide receivers not a position where there is as much of a learning curve, but if he has a smooth transition, he could be their top receiver this year. Tinsley's a really good player. And those three form a wide receiver trio that I think James Franklin's got to feel good about. In his press conference, he did say, there were only 5 or 6 receivers he really wanted to put out there. Jeff Brom chuckles at that thought and goes to his arsenal of like 10 guys he would throw out there. But that's a good group for them. That's a nice little core for them to bring into this game. Penn State did not run the ball well last season. They didn't have a single game where they had a 100-yard rusher. And that's seemingly impossible at a program like Penn State. I mean, it doesn't make sense. They're so historic in being a ground and pound offense and being physical that it's remarkable that happened. Their starter for most of last season, Noah Cain, he took off in the offseason, went portaling down to LSU. So Kayvon Lee is their top returning back. Over 400 yards each of the last 2 seasons. He really split carries about 50-50 with Cain. But Lee's going to have to manage more of a load this year. He's got to prove a little bit more. By no means was he a true number 1 back last year. That's what they'll ask him to do to start this season. I say to start because Nick Singleton is the name that everybody in Happy Valley is buzzing about. Look, he's a true freshman, but he was a top 50 recruit. I believe he was the number 1 running back recruit in the nation last year, coming out of high school in the 2022 class. He terrifies me because if there's one position that's the easiest for a true freshman to acclimate at the college level coming from high school, it's running back. You can think about all the times you've seen a true freshman running back have a really big-time true freshman season. I mean, you look at last season in the Big Ten with Travion Henderson. It happens. When you have guys that are that good, they usually don't wait long to make an impact. So if you're Purdue, you hope that you're getting them early enough that he's not too big of a part of their offense yet, because if the hype is true, he's going to be really good for them. They've got another true freshman in Katron Allen. They really like him. I think he'll see some snaps. I think Penn State will have Lee, Singleton, and Allen all getting carries in the backfield. This is a big matchup, though, because Penn State doesn't project to be a great offensive line. I say that with caution because they recruit at a high level. They should be sufficient everywhere on the field, just based on the level they recruit at. So I think their offensive line will be fine, but if it's not, boy, that makes things interesting. This is a major matchup to watch because they should be able to run the ball fairly well if that line is solid. That's a key. That's something to keep an eye on as we go into Thursday night. Heading over to the other side of the ball now. Penn State held opponents to just 17 points per game last year. This is going to be a good defense again. They do replace their defensive coordinator, Brent Pry, left to take the head coaching job at Virginia Tech after last season. So they brought in a big name in Manny Diaz, the former Miami head coach who was let go last offseason once they realized that they could hire Mario Cristobal. Going to be interesting. He's obviously a very good defensive mind, but he has not been a defensive coordinator in some time now. This wasn't a great defense against the run last year, allowing over 150 yards per game, but as I mentioned, PJ Mustipher missed the second half of last season with an ACL injury. It's not exactly clear if he's 100% healthy or not yet. It's clear that he is healthy enough to play and probably healthy enough to play the majority of the snaps. But is he 100% or not? I don't know. That's important because he is really, really good. he could cause some serious problems for Purdue in the run game. Not that Purdue really projects to run the ball all that well to begin with. That's still, something Purdue doesn't do very well, but he's someone who could take a lot away if he's 100% and a full go. It's an experienced defensive front as a whole. Nick Tarberton, Keziah Izzard, they're both back. They started last year. And they get Adisa Isaac back. He's a guy at defensive end who Franklin really liked coming out of camp a season ago. Or I guess into camp a season ago, because he suffered an injury, missed the whole year because of what happened in fall camp. This is a good defensive line. Close to 3 sacks per game last year. Now their best defensive lineman in terms of getting to the passer is gone. But it's going to be a test for a Purdue offensive line that I think is improved. They have 3 starters back all along the left side. Jeff Brom even said in his press conference today that we thought he was comfortable going to 8. He even floated 9 out there as the number of offensive linemen he would be comfortable using in this game. That's more than he's ever had at Purdue that he's been comfortable with. That's going to help Purdue here, but this is going to be a big challenge for them. Penn State's a little less proven at linebacker, which is weird because they are linebacker U. That was the identity of them for so long. But only one returning starter, Curtis Jacobs, is back, and they even had to move a safety down to linebacker in Jonathan Sutherland. But when you think about the way Purdue wants to play, well, that probably is good for Penn State in general. You have more speed out there than you would with some big, burly, old-school Penn State linebacker. So maybe that's not a bad thing. Purdue can't really exploit smaller linebackers as well as they would like to, especially with a really good defensive front. They've got a number of guys they can rotate in, but if there's a weak spot on this Penn State defense, it is at linebacker. Moving to the defensive backfield, though, it's not a weak point because they have 2 guys who I think could be legitimate game-changing playmakers. They have Joey Porter Jr. at corner, obviously the son of NFL player Joey Porter. If he takes a leap as a player and kind of takes that next step, he could be that type of a lockdown guy that really limits the opposing team's top receiver. Again, if you're Purdue, you don't necessarily have that singular guy, so not the end of the world, but they do have Jair Brown in the defensive backfield at safety. I believe he was tied in the NCAA lead for picks a season ago. He's really good. Now, they do lose his partner back in the safety spot with Jaquan Brisker. He's now on the Bears, but between Joey Porter Jr. and Jair Brown, that's a really good combination. They recruit well. I know I've said that over and over, but it's very, very relevant and valid. They have an athletic group back there. Remember those 2 names, though, in Porter and Brown, because they're a legitimate threat, and Purdue's going to have to find ways to neutralize that when trying to throw down the field. Taking a look at the injury report a little bit, because this was an area where if you're Purdue, you certainly had some questions coming into today. Jeff Brom gave his weekly Monday presser, told us the following guys are going to be good to go for Thursday's game: Jalen Graham, Corey Trice, Jamari Brown, Branson Dean, and Brock Thompson. So of everyone who had been limited for the most part in camp, those guys are all going to be good to go. Jalen Graham and Branson Dean had some hamstring things in camp. Trice, Brown, Thompson recovering from surgery either during last season or after last season. Those guys are all good to go. T. Denson, transfer corner from Kansas State, had double hernia surgery. He's still going to be out for a little while, and Jeff Brom was not quick to put a ETA on when he'll be back in the lineup, so I don't know if I would expect him anytime too soon. Keep in mind, Garrett Miller and DeMar J. Lewis both are going to miss the season. They both suffered season-ending injuries during the second week of fall camp. With that being said, this is as healthy as Purdue is going to be all season. Unless nobody gets hurt between now and the time T. Denson comes back in the lineup, this is the healthiest Purdue will be all season. And I think because of that, dipping into some just overall thoughts for this game, I think you're okay playing Penn State earlier rather than later in the schedule, because your starting 22 in that first game are not going to be your starting 22 in the last game or for the whole season. Injuries happen. It's inevitable. Penn State is one of the 15 programs in America who have more 4- and 5-star recruits on their roster than guys who were not 4- and 5-star recruits. And yes, I know that as guys are in college, that recruiting ranking gets less and less relevant as they start to prove it on the field. But I would always bet on that athleticism. I would always bet on that talent. And with that much depth, that should show as the season goes on. You have your best guys going against their best guys, yes, but you have your best guys out there. That's what you want if you're Purdue. You need that against a deeper team. And that's not to say that Purdue isn't deep. I think this is Jeff Brom's deepest team in terms of number of guys who can go out and play Big Ten football. So I think getting Penn State early, absolutely. I think that's a good thing. This is an incredible opportunity. I think the pressure is all on Penn State here. I'm not going to say Purdue has nothing to lose. I think a non-competitive loss, something like what Purdue did at Ohio State last year, I'm trying to think of good examples. Like Notre Dame in 2011, if we want to go under the lights, Purdue got steamrolled in that game. But just in general, games where Purdue maybe doesn't get blown out, kind of like Notre Dame last year, where Purdue didn't get blown out by any means, but you just never felt like they were going to win the game. You want to be in it late. There is something to lose for Purdue here, but the pressure is on Penn State. Their fans are expecting a lot more than what they've seen the past 2 seasons. And 2 weeks from now, Penn State's going to be getting ready for a trip down to the Plains to play Auburn. So, not that Auburn's going to be great. They're a below average SEC team. But again, they recruit well. They have talent. So, it's a big September for Penn State. And it starts on the very first day with a road Big Ten game. Purdue has their reputation for upset wins. They've been good as underdogs under Jeff Brom. I say that. This isn't a situation where Purdue is playing a massive underdog role, though. Like they were against Ohio State in 2018, against Iowa last year. It's not like that. Purdue's a small underdog, but you look at what a win could mean. I don't care how much Penn State has underachieved the past 2 seasons, if that's the word you'd like to use. This would be a massive victory. I think this would be as big as any win Brom has had outside of Ohio State. I really do. I think this is a really talented roster. I think they're being underrated in the preseason, and their focus has been on Purdue. Season openers always have a bit of a feeling out process to them. I don't know how long that can last, especially for Purdue's offense, because you really don't want to get behind. You really don't want to get behind. You just need to come out and start strong, and that hasn't always been Purdue's forte in games. Now, I do think the notion that Jeff Brom isn't good in season openers should probably be put to rest. There was a lot made of that after 2019 when Purdue lost out at Nevada. And look, that one was horrible. That game never should have been played. There were a lot of bad things in that game that really were an omen for what was to come that season. But, 2017 against Louisville, Purdue was 24-point dogs. And I think 2018, the wrong quarterback decision was probably made. And after 3 interceptions in the first half, Purdue couldn't climb back. And then Lorenzo Neal picked up a penalty when Purdue was going to get the ball back. So, on paper, this has potential to be one of the bigger wins Purdue has had recently. What will it take for them to get there? It's our 3 keys. We do this before every Purdue football game for those of you who are new here. And welcome if you are. If this is your first season listening to Boilers and Beyond, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Please come join the fun on Twitter. My DMs are always open. Tweet me anything. Let's hang out. But 3 keys. Number 1, red zone efficiency. Looking back at Purdue's season in 2021, there are things you realize at times during the season are happening, but you're never putting the bigger picture together. But the fourth quarter against Michigan State was the perfect embodiment of this, when a touchdown on 3 separate drives could have put the game away, but Purdue settled for short field goal after short field goal. Purdue attempted 29 field goals last season. Only 1 was longer than 40 yards. So when you account for snap and end zone distance, that means 28 times during the season, Purdue got to the 23-yard line or closer and had to settle for a field goal. Doing that twice per game, not ideal. When you're playing against a more talented team, you have to make the most of those opportunities. Of course, you'd like to strike on a big play or two from the 30 or 40-yard line, say to hell with the red zone to begin with. But when you get in there, when you're at the 8-yard line, when you have 3rd and 6 from the 14-yard line, converting that and converting for 6 instead of settling for 3, that could absolutely decide the game for you. That's going to be critical for Purdue. I think negative plays are a very big spot to track, especially given the style of defense that Penn State wants to play. Manny Diaz is very, very aggressive, and he has good athletes to work with at Penn State. Now, he had good athletes to work with at Miami, too, and things never clicked, but he has good athletes to throw some exotic stuff at Purdue's offensive line that, while it's improved, I'm not out here saying it's going to be, something incredible. You can't get into 3rd and long if you're Purdue. You really can't. You don't have David Bell to bail you out anymore. And just in general, Penn State's a good team. If you're getting in 3rd and long situations with the secondary they have, with the athletes they have, you're really putting yourself in a tough spot. On the flip side, Penn State, as I said, their offensive line wasn't great, but they feel like they've fixed that. Proof will be in the pudding on Thursday, but they feel like it's going to be better. I have no reason to say it won't be. Part of Purdue's defensive philosophy overhaul last year was being more aggressive, was attacking more. They want to make plays in the backfield. They want to get some sacks. They want to force those early throws that come out a half second earlier than the offense would like. The ball falls incomplete instead of getting to an open receiver. That's the stuff that Purdue has to do. If the line isn't all that much improved for Penn State, can Purdue get back there and make some plays? It doesn't have to be 5 sacks, but can they get back there and make Clifford rush some throws? Can they get back there and hit some ball carriers in the backfield? That stuff is huge. Make them convert on 3rd and medium. Make them convert on 3rd and long. Don't let them get to 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 on you all game, because they're going to convert that stuff probably on the ground, even though they didn't have a great ground game a season ago. And number 3, my biggest key to the game, it's rise to the occasion. This is incredible exposure for Purdue. This is a nationally televised game on Fox. This is an atmosphere that I think should be really good, although I am surprised at how many tickets are still left for the game. If there are going to be open seats for this one, I think that's a tough look for Purdue and Purdue fans, but we will see what it's like on Thursday. This is a massive occasion, though. You're playing a big name brand program. Purdue receivers, this is your opportunity. We have talked about this all summer long. There are a lot of guys in this group. It's a really crowded room. I don't know how much separation there is between guy 1 and guy 8 or 9. Now is the chance. Those lights are on. The pads are on. You're hitting someone on a different jersey than yours. It's all new. Someone can emerge and break out as a leader. There's no better opportunity than this one. There really isn't. Whether that's a returning guy, whether that is, Brock Thompson, even if he's in a limited role, does he have a big game? Is it one of the Iowa guys? TJ Sheffield, Yassine, Rice, Canyon, Burks, Sullivan. I mean, there are so many candidates out there for guys who can break out. Does someone rise to the occasion and do it? Aiden O'Connell has been really good at rising to the occasion in his career, but can he do it again? This is a really good Penn State secondary, as I said. Jair Brown, Joey Porter Jr., those are guys that I certainly am worried about. New receivers as well. Now, he's worked with Brock Thompson. We saw it in the bowl game. TJ Sheffield's not new. Nor is Charlie Jones when you look at the grand scheme of things from being a kid, but that's different. So is that chemistry 100%? Is Aiden O'Connell ready, especially now that he has some accolades on his side? He was all Big Ten second team a season ago. He's not sneaking up on people as just that former walk-on anymore. Is he ready now that there's some pressure on him? And certainly the expectations within the fan base have raised for him this year as well. How does he manage the occasion itself? And on defense, I think it's the same thing for Purdue. They had a much improved defense last year. They get a lot of those pieces back. They don't have George Karlaftis, who rises up and makes things difficult for Sean Clifford. I really like him, but he's not, some elite game-changing quarterback. He is better than a game manager, but he's not transcendent by any means. I think Purdue against the run is the matchup to watch in this game because Penn State struggled so mightily against the run last season. To run the ball, not against the run. But Purdue wasn't great against the run themselves. How do they do in this game? Is Penn State getting 4 to 5 yards on first down on the ground whenever they want? That changes things if they are. Not for the better for Purdue. It is a great opportunity to make a statement. It is a great opportunity to get after a program that thinks they're better than Purdue. If you get the general vibes around this matchup, on the Penn State side, they think they're going to win this game fairly comfortably from a fan perspective. They think they're going to win this one fairly comfortably. And based off what I gauge from you all on Twitter, the majority of Purdue fans think that Purdue's going to win this game. There is a lot to be excited about in this. This is a big-time game. It's time for me to make the prediction. I am going to go with Penn State 28, Purdue 23. Until proven otherwise, and I could be proven otherwise in the first half of this game, I think there are one or two too many questions about this Purdue team to pick a win over a team that just has the talent that Penn State does. And when I say questions, injuries. I know these guys are all ready to play, but are Corey Trice and Jamari Brown 100%? If they're not, you have Reese Taylor, and then you're going to Bryce Hampton, you're going to you're going down to redshirt freshmen. I mean, Javon Grigsby, Brandon Callaway. I mean, I don't know. You're going down quick if those guys aren't actually healthy. Jalen Graham, Branson Dean need to be good to go. I have questions there. The inexperience at receiver, we've harped on it enough. There's not a consistent run game to lean on. That's not new, but it certainly makes for things to be a little more difficult in the red zone. Or if you get ahead, you have to put the game on ice. We saw this in a season opener 3 years ago out in Nevada. Completely different circumstances, but Purdue trying to ice games isn't always the easiest. Ideally, if you're looking at this from a Purdue optimistic point of view, Aiden O'Connell is that great equalizer of sorts. You know, that metaphorical great equalizer that goes out there and all things are equal because he's on your side. He can be. He's a very good quarterback. He's the reason Purdue has a shot here. If it was Austin Burton starting, we wouldn't be having these conversations. Aiden O'Connell is the reason you feel good about this. And look, if Penn State had a less experienced quarterback, I would probably flip this result. But Sean Clifford has played in big games. He's played in big environments. He made it very clear to the media today that he's seen a blackout before. Not at Purdue, but he's seen atmospheres like that. And he said he knows exactly what he's getting into. So we'll see if that's cockiness that comes back to bite him or if he's just strutting his stuff. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think this is going to be a game in the fourth quarter. I went with 23 because I am worried about Purdue in the red zone. I think they settle for more field goals than would be preferred. Just those questions, they just keep getting at me. So that's why I'm going with Penn State 28, Purdue 23. But, I mean, there is so much to be excited about right now for Purdue. The Ross-Ade renovation renderings are going to be released on Wednesday. Purdue just picked up their biggest recruit in the 2023 class on Sunday in Cathedral's Kendrick Gilbert. A lot of good vibes going into this game, going into this week. I guess that is as long as fans like the Ross-Ade renderings that come out on Wednesday. I can't wait, guys. We're finally here. There is finally Purdue football to preview. We had a little bit of football last weekend. I am predicting a Purdue loss, but things could be much worse. It could be a Nebraska podcast. So hopefully if Purdue has a lead, they don't onside kick it. That did not go well. So that is all I have for the Penn State preview podcast. Thank you for spending some time with me here. I think we're going to be back on Friday. I think we are going to do an episode Friday morning, Friday early afternoon to recap the game, look at how things unfold. That way you got something for the weekend, and we don't have to wait all the way until Monday to post something new. So be on the lookout Friday afternoon for a recap show in your feeds. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter. We are at Boilers Beyond. Subscribe to Boilers and Beyond wherever you get those podcasts. Guys, enjoy the game. If you're coming in, safe travels. Enjoy the game. Be safe and take care.